All right, that was fun, I think. That's what happens when you start your phone on the show and it's plugged in and it gets goofy. Hey, it's Patrick from How Cheetah Will View 8 Questions with, and what's that? Oh yeah, okay. So this is Patrick from the Cinema Squad because they're taking over this week. That's right. Uh, so here it is, Wednesday, day 2 of the Cinema Squad Takeover. We had a Upside Dan come in last night and absolutely rule the planet. And tonight, we'll be welcoming in Shawn Jackson from Lost in the Rio. He will be here in about 15 minutes or so. Tomorrow, we have Jace Burns will be with us. Worker Roll Car. God, I'm going to have to ask him that, where he got that name from. Why do I have a feeling it's like a Star Wars name? So anyway, hopefully everybody's doing well. It's a beautiful day here in southeastern Michigan. Here it is at 8 o'clock. It's sunlight, sunset, and it is 74 degrees. It is warm, but not as warm as it is in California. California is it is burning up. It is burning up. Monkey, how are you, sir? Hopefully you're doing well, behaving yourself. Uh, and tomorrow night will be the last show of the will be the last show with the Cinema Squad, and then Thursday at 2 p.m. we have a special show. Thursday at 2 p.m. we will be welcoming in Colinda Bongers. Will be here, a film director, Colinda Bongers from the Netherlands. She is one of the co-directors of a movie called Molly, and she will be here and talking about that movie and talk about what she's been doing. She's, Netherlands is a very tough place to make films, but we'll talk to her about that and see what she's been doing. The calendar, I got to do the calendar. So next Friday night, I will be on the road. I'll be on the road to Ava and Doug Potterfield's Ava's channel. I'll be there as a guest. Yeah, his name is he calls the name of his channel is Buja Rokar. I just feeling it's a feeling it's a Star Wars or a Star Trek name. I'm wondering. Um, yes, well, you and I should talk about that, about the behaving yourself. Uh, Katie, how are you? Greetings, greetings. Um, glad Monkey's here. Glad Katie's here. You guys are tearing it up. We are here waiting for Shawn. So next week we have a lot of shows going on. On the 13th, we have film director and screenwriter Joe Gioni will be here with us today. He'll be with us here on the 13th. On the 14th, next Wednesday, we have a special 7 o'clock start time. We're welcoming back our good friend Karen Cleach will be here with us at 7 p.m. We'll be talking about hopefully we'll be talking about her new movie that she's working on. Hopefully by the time she gets here, she'll be able to talk about it. Sometimes when the actors start a new project, they have to sign a do not disclose agreement. And so they're not really allowed to talk about the movies that they're in until they get permission. Well, I don't know who Anna is. Who's Anna, Monkey? There's Dan right there. That's our guest from last night coming back. He's probably going to crash the party. That was a fun show last night, Dan. I really had a really good time. I really appreciate your coming on and talking with us. Of course, we got, like I said, we got Shawn in about 15 minutes, and we got Jace tomorrow. And then on the next Thursday, on the 15th, we have a very unique young lady. She goes by the name of Madame Genevieve, and she will be here on the 15th. At 8 p.m. and that will be an interesting show with a very sharp-minded lady, and we will be talking about all sorts of fun things. we'll be pushing the boundaries a little bit here on 8 Questions With, but you know how it is. You got to go out there and play around sometimes, right? You got to stretch your boundaries and go be a little bit adventuresome. And then next Friday night at 10 p.m., I will be the guest of the Ice Lord. Wes has welcomed me into the 9th level, and we are headed there to talk one-on-one with Wes. I am the Ice Lord. We'll be there on the 16th at 10 p.m. And then next a week on September 19th, we have our very good friend Jim Martin from Now It's Dark. He will be here with us on a special Monday night show. He will be here on the 19th at 8 p.m. and we will be looking forward to talking to Jim. As you know, he's one of the nicest. He's one of the nicest people on the tube. Super cool guy, and he'll be here talking with us. And on the 19th at 8 p.m. And then on the 20th, we have screenwriter extraordinaire Spider Dabrowski. He'll be here talking to us about his career. He has written a movie that's airing on Tubi right now called Teardrop, and we actually have a connection to that movie. Spider wrote it, but our friend Sean Kane, who's been on the show before, he has edited it. He edited that movie. So it's a very small world sometimes in Hollywood. So he'll be here with us on Tuesday the 20th. And then on the 22nd, I don't have anything on the 21st. That happens. On the 22nd, we have a double header, right? We have actress and writer Max Wassa will be here with us at 6 p.m., a special time, 6 p.m. On Thursday. We're starting a little early. We're going to do a 6 p.m. start time, and then we have a double header because after we get done talking to Max, we'll turn right around and head to New Zealand to talk to Tristan Risk. Tristan Risk will be with us at 9 p.m. on the 22nd. Some of you might remember Tristan from American Mary. She is a very much sought after artist. She does a lot of unique things. She's also a writer, screenwriter, voice actress. She is writing and directing her first short, and appropriately enough, it's called Cat Lover. So we're all over that. So that's what's coming up here on 8 Questions With. So a lot of fun, a lot of things happening. So yes, this Sunday on the Midnight Society, our special guest that we had, John Grande, he will not be here with us on Sunday. He's had a family issue come up. He's had to take care of that. He let me know that today. He had to cancel his whole schedule. So John, if you're out there, if you're listening, man, we're with you, buddy. You reach out if you need to talk. You know what's going on. We got you. Yeah. How about that? Let's see. Monkey saying yes, Cheetah. You can reach out to me whenever you want. Good. Ava, who I'm saying I heard got hurt. Okay. Yeah. Ava got dinged up a little bit. If you guys want to share us out, that'll be awesome. I really appreciate that. That'll help the show out, and of course, hit the like button. Those who can, and we will be talking with Shawn Jackson. Now, Shawn and I, we have a bit of a beef, because he's one of those A24 guys. Not as bad as Upside Down, even though Dan did shock the shit out of me yesterday when I went over his channel and there was lambs staring right back at me, with 6,000 views. And I'm like, okay, that's what happens. But me and Shawn, we're going to be talking about A24 versus IFC Midnight. I think IFC Midnight has the better films. I think they have better production, better for the most part, better cast overall. And he likes A24, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a little bit about our. It's almost award season time. In fact, I do believe award season probably will start thinking about kicking off in October. It's not only a horror film kickoff, because in October we have Terrifier 2, we have Halloween Ends, there's a lot, plus whoever knows how, there's a Vesper will be out. There will be a lot of horror films coming out next month. Now, how many of those films will be people will be able to see? Um, how many of these movies will be able to see without streaming? I don't know. I know there's a lot of new horror movies coming on Shudder. I know there's a ton of horror movies that come out on Tubi, including some originals. So oh yes, I also know too. There's another movie coming out that I should mention about I'm not sure if it's a horror movie or more or a survival movie. It's called Frost. That'll be coming out next month, I believe. That looks to be really good. I am looking for. I have not seen anybody. I think I've only seen one person write about this movie to review it. That movie is Fall. I'm looking forward to that. All right, so here comes our friend Shawn. So let's put your hands together. And yes, Pearl looks really good. I admit I'm excited to see Pearl. All right, let's go get Shawn. Ta-da.
Patrick, how's it going? Patrick? Where did Patrick go?
Okay, that was not fun.
Hi,
No, every time I try to, if I plug in my phone with the charger stuff, it does goofy things. It's like it's haunted.
Oh, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm
I'm sure you heard me. I'm sure you heard me admit that about Pearl.
Yes, that you're looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to that. For one thing, I have a feeling it's going to be better than X.
I was just going to ask you if you liked X or not.
X was real. I tell you what I really loved about X. I love the cinematography.
Yes,
that was a beautifully filmed movie. I love the cinematography. As far as the movie itself goes, honestly, I've seen better. So I've seen better. I don't understand the overhype on it, and that's my biggest complaint when it comes down to A24 films is that everybody jumps on the bandwagon. It's like once you see the movie, and then you build it up in your mind to be all that and a pizza, and next thing you know, you go watch it, and it's just like it's a good movie. It's a good movie within its own space. But it's not like, oh my God, this is the best movie since Texas Chainsaw Massacre. No, it's not.
Yeah, and that's exactly I think what ruined X for me is it had been hyped up so much, and the reviews were like it was like at a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I just had this like it was going to reinvent the slasher genre, and then I saw it, and I was just kind of waiting for it to get good, and then it didn't. So
no. I mean, I do like some of his choices.
Yes.
I thought Kid Cudi.
Kid Cudi is great.
He stole that movie.
Agreed.
Yeah, he stole it. Every scene he was in, he was really good in it.
That's exactly what I said in my review. Is Kid Cudi was the star of the movie.
Definitely. It was weird seeing Brittany Snow go against Wee type.
Yeah,
she's always playing the real sweet young girl and everything, and there she is. She's just like, I mean, I was sitting there going, like, is she actually doing a nude scene here? It's like
she was really good in it, though.
Yeah, she was really good. She definitely was. I mean, the performances were good. I like Mia Goth. I thought she was really cute. Of course, Martin Henderson is solid. Anything he's in.
Yeah.
The Ring, especially Fly Boys. Fly Boys is underrated, but
underrated.
Really good. Hey, Eric, how are you? Bud Files is here. Thank you so much. So, I mean, I like Ty West too, and I like the Innkeepers. Like, I like the Innkeepers more than I like X. Yeah, that's a good movie. Sad ending though.
Great. He definitely Ty West knows how to create mood and atmosphere, and like with X, like you said, the cinematography, the way that it kind of felt almost like a 70s grindhouse movie, like it felt kind of trashy in a good way. I loved that about X. It just, the movie, the substance itself and like the twist and everything, it just didn't really work for me.
I think he gambled on one thing. He actually went against the river in a lot of ways. A really good kid. Having his cast going against type. They're because he mentioned in his interview that he wanted his actors to stretch and be challenged, and I think he did that. Like I said, Brittany Snow is like no one's ever seen Brittany Snow like this before. And yet at the same time, he allowed her to have a minute of who she really is when she was singing Landslide. It's like, oh, everybody knows that Brittany Snow, but not the Bobby Lynn that's hardcore, just a rough around the edges. I mean, that was it was really interesting. And the other thing I thought he did really really well too was most slasher films, it's like everything focused on the slasher. It's like every character that the slasher is going to attack is pretty much just one dimensional. But these characters they all felt their character developed. I mean, you liked every one of them.
Yeah, that's true.
There wasn't anybody there that you were sitting there going like, okay, I can't wait for this guy to get it or her to get it. No, you were sitting there going like, this really sucks.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that is interesting is going into X, I knew that he had filmed Pearl already, and that was a thing that was happening. So by the end, even though I didn't love the movie, I definitely was like anticipating what Pearl was going to be, next. And I think that maybe Pearl has the possibility of, if Pearl is really good, then maybe it'll also make X a little bit better in my mind as well.
Hopefully so.
Yeah.
I know right now he's developing the third movie, but it came out with gang. Yeah, it was always planned as a trilogy.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
It was planned as a trilogy, and it was like it was the first X, and then he filmed Pearl on the side, and then he's going to develop the third movie, which he's doing now. But I think what happened was, again, it comes out. I mean, he definitely got his money's worth. He said he made this movie for $1 million. He spent every single dollar he had on the movie. That's for sure.
Yep, 100%.
But you look at movies like like the Black Phone that came out. It came out and just did blockbusting business.
Yeah.
And then of course the one movie that I don't think anybody saw coming, that turned out to be a lot of people saying like the best movie they've seen so far this year has been Prey.
Oh yeah, Prey was fantastic.
Because when I was talking with Ben asked me, he says, well, what movie, because I said this was not the best movie of the year for me, horror film by far. And he says, well, what have you seen that's better? And I said, Children of Sin. I mentioned that yesterday, but I'll say it again. The Children of Sin, which is on Tubi, and it was written and directed by Christopher Moore. That movie will get on. Huh?
What is it called? Children of Sin?
Children of Sin. You remember that movie they put out on Peacock about the conversion, about the anti-gay conversion, they, them?
Yeah, that movie was horrible.
Yeah, well, Children of Sin had the same concept and blew it out of the water. You tell me when you watch that movie on Tubi, you come back to me and tell me that you weren't affected by it, and you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll know. I won't tell you any hint at all, but you come back and tell me that when you saw a couple of scenes in there that it didn't make your skin crawl.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great movie, and it has a great young talented actress in front of it named Meredith Moeller.
Okay.
She just needs to be seen by the right person. She's got a lot of talent. And that was it. That was the better movie. Ben asked me, and I said that was the best movie I saw.
Wow.
As far as horror films. Yeah, and that includes me watching Werewolves Within, which I saw a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely loved.
I wasn't as that's IFC Midnight, right?
They put that underneath the IFC banner for some reason.
Interesting.
They did put that underneath the Midnight banner.
That is curious to me. I don't know why they would do that. I wasn't as keen on Werewolves Within as everyone else was.
You know, my biggest thing when I went and watched that movie, because I mean, as a film critic, I mean, you're watching the film, right? You know, you're sitting there as I mean, and let me know if I'm right or wrong about this, but when you watch a movie as a critic, as a professional critic, and doesn't it have a nice round to? It's so cool to say that to you, professional critic. You know,
Oh,
I just think it's awesome. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
Um, but as a critic, as a professional critic, when you watch a movie, I mean, there's got to be a lot of things. How do you? I mean, how do you divide your viewing? I mean, I mean, because obviously you're going to see the movie more than once. But when you first go in, what do you look at? Do you look at the story? Do you look at cinematography? Do you look at performances? Do you look at special effects? I mean, you can't do it all at once.
It's very,
You know,
very true. I always, when I'm watching something, number one, no matter what, for me always is how does the movie make me feel? And that's kind of what I stem all of my my critiques on. So if it, you know, if it made me feel gross, why did it make me feel gross? Was it because of the music? Was it because of the grimy cinematography or whatnot? Or yeah, so that's kind of where I start out with, and then usually it kind of goes down to story from there, and then branches off.
um, do you look at the talent when you watch a movie? Because there's so many movies out there now. Like this for me, this is the first time I've ever seen Mia Goth and
Mhm.
Jenna Ortega. I've never seen them act before, so it was my
Oh,
first time to see them. Actually, Kid Cudi too. Um,
hmm.
but as far as the actresses go, when you see somebody, a young talent, fresh talent, is that how excited do you get? Like, do you ever get that idea like, wow, I'm discovering a star here. You know, I'm gonna talk about this person. You know, because this is a new face. You know, no one really knows about it. More so on the independent level, more than on the mainstream, of course. But does that excite you when you find somebody like, wow, you know, like no one knows who this is? I want to keep this to myself, or I can't wait to talk about it. Um, has there any been any actors or actresses like that has just grabbed your attention like that, like this year?
I love that question because I 100% Patrick. I get so excited when I see a new face and they just like blow me away. Like I can't wait to talk about the performance, you know, especially like when it's like a big name star that you kind of expect a good performance of, it's still exciting to see, but when you see a new
Mm.
face that just brings something, you know, completely new to the table that you haven't seen before, it's so exciting. Jenna Ortega is actually one of those fresh faces that I saw last year at South by Southwest when she was in a movie called The Fallout, which ended up coming out on HBO Max at the beginning of this year. But I saw it all the way back last year during the summer, and I was just like, this girl is going to be a huge star. And then this year, she's been in everything. You know, she's in the new Wednesday show, and she's in X and Scream, and uh, so it's really exciting to see her get some, you know, some notoriety in the industry. But this year, 100%, I'm trying to get his name really quickly, so that's why I'm looking down on my phone.
Yeah, she was really she was impressive, and I'll tell you one thing she has, Jenna Ortega, she can scream. That girl she's holy shit.
And I feel like they are kind of like pigeonholing her into like this scream queen role because she is so good at screaming, you know, with X and the movie Scream. Have you heard of a movie called Hypochondriac, Patrick?
No, I have not. That one I have not heard of.
It is it's like a psychological supernatural horror film. And it just came out recently, last month actually. The lead actor is a guy named Zach Villa, and that's the performance this year for me. I will not stop talking about it. He gives everything to this role, like physically, mentally. He's like deteriorating mentally and going kind of crazy, and he doesn't really know what's real and what's not. And it is such a good performance. The movie is a difficult watch, but it's definitely worth checking out for that performance.
Now, who put that movie out? Is it on streaming?
It is available on Amazon Prime. It's XYZ Films.
Oh wow. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's an independent. Yeah.
definitely
Oh, that's
independent, but
awesome.
it premiered at Fantasia last year, and it's been kind of making the rounds on at some of the horror festivals. But it just
Fantasia's
that
a good.
movie, it's hard to
That's a good
watch.
calling card.
What was that?
Fantasia's a good calling card.
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
definitely would love to go one year.
Uh, yeah. I was gonna say, you must be taking advantage of all these all the conventions now. Now that you can just flash that press pass and walk on by with a +1.
Yeah, I got into as press for South by Southwest, but South by Southwest, like hopefully no one is watching from South by Southwest, but it's a ripoff. Like they ask for you to, to become press, and then they want you to pay like thousands and thousands of dollars to then like get into all of these things. So I didn't end up going because it was so expensive, but I would like to go to, Venice or Toronto, one of those.
Wait a minute. So you got a press pass to go, but they still
Mhm.
wanted you to pay.
Thousands of dollars they ask for you to pay. And
Wow.
yeah, and I'm for every little thing too. It's not just like one. It's like one upfront fee of like $1,200, and then they want you to pay like $250 to go to this gala, and then to do a meet and greet you have to pay money. And I'm like, what's the point of getting a press pass if you have to pay an exorbitant amount of money to do everything? But not all
Wow.
the festivals are like that. South by
Wow.
Southwest is
Yeah.
yeah,
That's crazy. That is absolutely
yeah,
insane. Press pass, that's what it
yeah.
means. That means the work is respected enough that you get to go through, and because you're reporting on the whole festivities. You're breaking stars. You're talking about venues. Why? Wow. I guess it's the
Yeah.
first time someone asked me that. I got a press
Mhm.
pass, and the first thing is, well, we want you to pay $1,000. I would sit there, okay, that sounds fair, but you'll be paying me $4,000 for me to write an article, to put my pen on paper. That's $4K before I do anything. I mean, that doesn't that sounds about right? Um,
Well, 100%. And the whole point of, critics and, critics getting the like screeners for films and whatnot for free is because we do the reviews, and then we are basically promoting for free for the studios and whatnot because we're putting, word out there on these films. So it's just interesting to me that they are trying to tack on all of these extra prices for the press.
yeah, I've never heard of that. I've always every time I saw a press person, I always was welcoming, because I
Yeah,
knew that, got them free, buy them a drink, because you know what, they're going to take good care of me. They're going to write about the bands I'm booking. They're going to write about the venue I have. Yeah, especially if I'm small, independent films. You go ahead and you send out screeners to people like ourselves, because the big places aren't going to cover you.
right.
Small places are.
Mhm.
And we're going to be talking about you on this level.
Yep.
You don't need to. Wow, that's crazy. But before
Yeah.
we get to the point where you became a professional critic, I think we should probably circle back around and ask, where were you born and raised at?
I was born and raised in Fresno, California.
Oh, Bulldog. What?
Yeah,
You're from the
the
Valley?
Bulldogs. Yeah. What was that?
You're from the Valley?
I am from the Valley. Yep.
You do know I live in San Jose, right?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's still the team I root for too. I lived in San Jose for 16 years.
Oh,
Oh my
wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
God. Yeah. So how did you like? I've been to Fresno a few times. How did you like living there? It's big now, isn't it?
It is big. I actually live there again right now for the time being, which was a hard decision. So I liked living in Fresno, but when I was 18, all I wanted to do was get away. So I moved to San Francisco and lived in San Francisco for 10 years, and then I just recently moved back. But then I'm planning on making the move to LA. I'm not very excited about it, but for this career and whatnot, it's become almost impossible to do what I want to do in this career path and not live in LA.
Yeah, even press, even when you're doing press, even when you're writing and whatnot, you have to be in LA. You have to be based there.
Yeah.
You have to be able to actually go out there and be seen, and like go to different theaters, get to know the agents, the managers, the talent. You can't do that. You can do it certainly, like we're doing this, but that only
Mhm.
takes you so far. As far as you want to
Exactly.
become if you want to become a film writer, or film journalist, you have to be there. Um,
It's very true.
Brene's mentioning, Brene says that she lived as a singer
Wait,
back in
what?
the 80s.
Who?
Fairy Dust
Fairy
says,
Dust.
yeah, she lived in Sanger back
That's
in the
I
86,
so
87.
I live right in between where Fresno and Sanger. I live in Clovis. So
Oh,
that's like right next to Sanger. It's crazy.
wow. That's a small world, isn't it?
Yes, it's a very small world.
Uh, yeah, San Francisco. I don't blame you, man. Everybody's getting chased from San Francisco. It's so expensive to live there. It's it's
Yeah.
it's insane. It's actually, I think it's probably, honestly, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's more expensive to live in the Bay Area than it is in LA.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
There was a point in time when I paid $1,200 to share a bedroom in a two-bedroom, one-bath apartment. And there was four people living in there, and each room was $2,400.
That's absolutely positively crazy.
Yeah.
You're sharing a bed and paying
Yeah.
$1,200 for it. That's just absolutely, that's crazy. I
And the
mean,
the room was only big enough that we had two double beds that were right next to each other, and that's was how big the room was.
wow. I've, you know what? I've heard crazy stories. I've heard some crazy stories, so I'm not shocked at all.
Yeah.
Um, well, Fresno, how's it been since you've been back? I mean, is it a little easier living wise?
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten a lot more expensive, which I was not prepared for, but so has everything. But one thing I've noticed is uh, Fresno and Clovis is like known for being extremely conservative. And luckily, it seems to have tempered out a little bit. I feel like people are a little bit more open, a little bit more understanding, and it's still, you know, uh, very conservative, but I think people are a little bit less so nowadays.
I think people think that California is a liberal state, and they have no idea that it's not.
No, there's
It's
so many different
not.
little pockets.
Yeah, it's not liberal as like people like to think it is. It's not as
Mhm.
liberal as they like to think they are. It's not,
Mhm.
and it's pretty scary. California is pretty scary. My sisters live there. My sister lives in she lives in Sausalito,
Oh yeah.
Petaluma, yeah, Petaluma, and my other sister lives outside of Concord. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, my dad lived in Vallejo. So I was in San Jose for 16 years before I moved here. So,
Wow.
yeah, I get it. I'm a California boy. I was born and raised there myself. So, um, and I
What
grew up
made
in LA.
you what made you want to leave?
I fell in love.
Oh, okay. That's a
I
good
had a
reason.
business. Yeah, I was booking live music for 10 years, and then I met my future wife, and then I moved in '99.
Oh wow.
Yeah, So what was it like living in? I mean, as far as growing up there in Clovis, what was it like? Did you have brothers and sisters? Did you were your parents creators? Were they writers themselves?
No, not no. So I have two older brothers, and then I have a god sister. And my two older brothers are much older than me. They were graduating high school when I was born.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I kind of came out of nowhere. But no, my mom was an underwriter, and my dad was a janitor. And
Mhm.
they were not, they were not big creators. They were weirded out by me, but they loved how creative I was and totally allowed me to cultivate that creativity, but they didn't really understand it. But the one thing is, my dad, no matter what, it did not fail. Every Saturday of my childhood, every Saturday, the first movie in the morning we would go see without fail every Saturday. So he's
So
kind of the reason I fell in love with movies and why I can't get enough of them.
isn't that the case? What was the first movie that you actually do remember seeing?
In the theaters,
Yeah. What was the very first movie that you remember watching?
the first movie I remember watching is The Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan. That
Right,
one
right.
because they had just opened up, like, because all of the movie theaters were like run down, and Clovis was still where I was living too. Was there? It wasn't very populated yet, so yet the movie theaters were like really run down, and then we ended up getting this huge movie theater with like 24 screens, and The Parent Trap was the first movie that I saw at that movie theater, and never looked back.
How fun is that? Now, what
Yeah.
was the first time? Now, when did you get the idea that you wanted to start writing? Were you always a nonfiction writer, or did you write like did you keep like a journal when you were younger? Or did you develop did you start writing short stories in high school or junior high? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so I started writing fiction, and that's like where my true love is writing fiction. And I would write short stories. In high school, I ended up self-publishing a few books. And I am writing a fiction book right now. So that's kind of where my love is. But I also have my love of film. And when I was freshman year of high school, I found the Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think they exist anymore, but the Rotten Tomatoes blogs, and I just started writing about film because of my love for movies, of course. And I did that all through high school. I wrote about movies, and then I kind of stopped for a little bit. And then when COVID hit, I just decided to start writing again because that was like my only outlet at the moment. And here we are.
Now you mentioned you writing fiction, so your goal is to become a novelist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. What my main goal is I would love to be a novelist, but I would also like to write screenplays as well. Definitely. Down the road for sure.
Sure. I find that a lot of film writers, like journalists, critics or whatnot. I do find them reaching out and going that way a lot of the time. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm watching this and I could do better than this. And then before you know it,
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. They're getting out there. There's plenty of stories like that of many respected writers that have started out as professional critics, and next thing you know, they're going like, yeah, I could do this. And then next thing you know, they got screenplays. Um,
Yeah.
they yep, they're submitting their own stuff in, and then they're finding out really what it's all about. It's like, oh, I didn't expect it too hard. I thought this was going to be easy, but it's hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I have no doubt about that.
Now, have you submitted any of your fictional writing? Have you submitted any of that to like different? Because there's a ton of magazines out there, online and print. Have you submitted any of your work for submit? Have you submitted any of your work for publication?
No, I have thought about it, but really, my like I have this one project that I've been working on for years, and it is my baby, and I like slowly have cultivated it throughout the years, and that's kind of it's going to be a novel, and that's kind of where my brain is constantly at. Not really in short story writing for like publications. Just I guess right now at least.
Yeah, I just found like that to be like short films.
Yeah.
I just look at like when I see directors coming out or screenwriters coming out. Um, I just like to me, I just think it's cool that when they go the short film route, so they can learn their craft. There's
It's
nothing more
true.
as far, yeah, there's nothing more sad than to see some, writer or director coming out and doing their first film and crashing and burning. Because a lot of times they're not going
Mhm.
to get us. You know, it's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
money to
true.
be spending on there, and if you don't deliver the goods right off the bat, it could be a very long wait, as you know. It could came out there, spent $5 million on a movie, and
Mhm.
it didn't come back at all. It didn't recoup itself at all. It's gonna be that much harder to come back there and try to do that again.
Yeah.
Um,
I kind of
what
think
were some of the
when
what
you
were
bring
some,
that up, I just I think of this new movie Barbarian that's coming out this weekend. And the director of that, he directed some horrible comedy over a decade ago that failed to make any money, and he hasn't really made a movie since, and now he's coming out with Barbarian, which is getting great reviews, but look how long it took him to make another film.
there's a lot of that. You see a movie coming out and go like, holy shit, man, what a great movie. What else this guy's done? Go back there and find out that he hasn't done anything. It's like,
Yeah,
oh my God, why?
besides
Why
like
not?
trashy comedy from the early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, you sort of hope that like, okay, now that I made a good movie, do I want them to go back and watch my other movie? Yeah, actually
Yeah.
you do. So they can see how
Mhm.
far you've come.
It's
Um,
true. That's a really great point.
what's some of the writers that influenced you when you started writing? If you don't mind talking a little bit about your book, what genre is it, and who are some of your favorite writers?
Ooh. That is a really good question. I growing up, I what like the book that made me fall in love with, just writing and what the capabilities of writing, what it can do was The Phantom Tollbooth by Norm Juster, I think is his name. And I just remember reading that book in second grade and being like, this book, like, kind of transcends what writing, what you can do with it. And, it played around with so many different things. And that's kind of what I fell in love with. And I love fantasy as well. And then I started really getting into like the classics, and Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger is a um, huge influence on me and my writing. And I think a lot of what I write is kind of not coming of age, but like almost like a loss of innocence almost. And I think
Okay.
that's what Catcher in the Rye is to me. And that's kind of what I've grown my writing from is Catcher in the Rye for sure.
Now you mentioned Catcher in the Rye. Are you saying that you write along the same lines as Salinger, or do you look at it
No,
as sort of like not like that?
no, definitely not like that.
Okay.
I feel JD Salinger is, to me, like I love Catcher in the Rye, but his writing style is very dry. Um, And so I don't write like him, but like the story that he was telling in The Catcher in the Rye, why it has kind of stood the test of time, is so interesting to me, and why people are so fascinated by that book is really kind of where my mind goes when it comes to Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah, I read that book too, and I got to tell you, I was not impressed at all. That movie, that book bored the shit out of me.
Yeah, it does a lot of people, and I think
Yeah,
that's why I'm interested by it so much. Is
I,
the
I just never
story
got.
at its core is so it's very basic, but why has it endured all of these years? Why do people keep coming back to it?
Because people keep on saying it's like Hereditary. People kept on saying it's a good movie over and over and over, so they hope that other people will believe it. Where you actually know that it's nothing but not so good. It's terrible, but because people kept on saying it,
Uh,
you know how that. Yeah, I mean, sort of like the same
that's
way.
one of my favorite horror movies.
Well, I didn't know that. Yeah, we did. but it's true though. It's like but that's part of how it goes. People keep on telling you like this is a great book. This is a great book. This is a great book. And then you find out and you read it for yourself, and all of a sudden you find out like, okay, it's not so great. It's maybe it's good. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's solid. It's not. But it's not like all the hype. Again, it's like the hype job. Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes it works. I mean, like Lord of the Rings. Someone mentioned you like J.R.R. Tolkien. Now that's a great book. That's just a out flat out classic. You can't go wrong with that.
Yes.
It's just a beautiful book.
Agreed.
But then then you try to read The Wheels of Time, and you'll end up dying of boredom in the first half of the book.
Yeah.
I
That
could
I
not,
can agree with wholeheartedly.
I could not believe that someone actually made a series out of that. That is like the
Yeah.
worst fantasy book ever. Um, um,
I
what's
think the
what's the
biggest question with like the Wheel of Time, or with Catcher in the Rye, I think I'm just fascinated with things that people love and why they love them, and like why have they lasted? Like why do people still read The Great Gatsby? Like that was a book that everyone, like a ton of people love, but I didn't necessarily care for it. But I love kind of dissecting and thinking about why people keep coming back to it.
we got to save a life here, real quick. Eric is sitting there saying, he's saying, Wheels of Time was pretty terrible. The show, at least. Haven't read the book. For God's sake, Eric, trust me on this. If you can get one thing out of me ever, do not read the book. Do not. I don't want you to. No, you'll go batshit crazy reading that book. There was a writer who was very influential early days of Dungeons and Dragons. His name was Gary
Mhm.
Gygax, and he wrote.
Okay.
He did that. He did Dungeons and Dragons. Well, he thought that he was going to be he was a writer too, so he wrote a trilogy. Based on Dungeons and
Mhm.
Dragons. I'm telling you, I'd rather go to the dentist without Novocaine than read those again. And yet I would read those again. I would read those again before I would read The Wheel of Time.
The
That's
Wheel of
yeah.
Time, yeah.
Oh, so terrible. So terrible.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I tried to read those back in the day, and I did not get very far at all because I don't remember any of any of what I read.
I managed to go through one book. I went through one book, and I'm sitting there going,
Mhm.
"Oh, okay, the first one's always the roughest, so let's just get through it." Origin stories. Or so I started reading the second book. I think I got with it 100 pages into it, and I
Mhm.
never drop a book. I will read it all the way through. I did not. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
The only good grace I had was I didn't buy it. I actually read it at Barnes and Noble. I'm a speed reader,
Fair enough.
so I can really
Mhm.
rip it up. So I read the first book at Barnes and Noble. It took me like 4 visits, and then I'm going like and then the second one came out, and I'm going like, okay, I'll try it. Maybe it got better. Oh my God, I just couldn't do it. just like no. And I love to read. I'm
Yeah.
a you know my sister's even more intense than I am. Her and I are massive
Mhm.
readers, and yeah, we're both going like, oh, this is just the worst. Um, so what genre is your book? Coming of age then? Is it,
Yes,
would you
it's
call it
coming
or
of
would you call it
age.
okay?
Yeah,
So
it
like
kind of starts out like a Bonnie and Clyde type story almost, and it turns into, and there's a mystery of this kid is kind of looking for his long lost father that he hasn't heard of or heard from in years. And so he's on this road trip with this girl that he meets who's kind of like opening up like the doors to his world of, like partying and all of these, things that he didn't do before. So it's kind of like a coming of age, loss of innocence story in that regard. And then it turns into something a lot darker and more sinister as it goes along.
I gotta, yeah. I tell you what. You mentioned, the coming of age and young adult. I absolutely love the genre. I really do. I grew up
Mhm.
reading. I grew up reading science fiction and fantasy and whatnot. And then, young adult really wasn't a thing. It was like it was. You probably never heard of this writer, but it was like Beverly Cleary. It was like
Oh, of
you
course
know,
I heard of Beverly Cleary.
it
Ramona.
was just, yeah, it was just a really thin, small group of writers, and you would order it through your school and whatnot. Um, but
Mhm.
all of a sudden, young adult came out, and it took off.
Yeah.
You got Harry Potter, you got the Hunger Games, you got Percy Jackson.
Mhm.
You got a lot. What was that one vampire one? Not Mortal Engines,
Twilight.
but you had Twilight, and then there's another one they tried to make a movie out of it. City of Bones, I think it was called.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's the Mortal Instruments.
Okay, Mortal Instruments. Yeah, oh,
Mhm.
we won't talk about the movie. But Mortal Instruments, the book. I mean, I
Terrible.
looked at it this way. I looked at it this way. I was thrilled. I was thrilled when you see
Mhm.
that when they have lines going out the door for Harry Potter, and it just
Yeah.
really just like it just sitting there going like when people hated on it, and I'm going like, why are you hating anything that gets your child to read? He's not reading Newt Gingrich, he's not reading Bill O'Reilly. So why are you having a spaz attack? They're reading fantasy, they're reading creativity, they're expanding their minds, not narrowing them, you know.
I think that's what
Uh,
people are afraid of, though, don't you think, Patrick? People are afraid of their kids expanding their minds, or at least
Always.
some parents and some people are.
Yeah, I mean, you got, it's funny because I got my start reading, like I said, fantasy and science fiction and whatnot, and some horror. I read some horror too, uh, Ramsey Campbell, I mean, there's a ton I read, and it was just always you're always going places. The Lord of the Rings, you're going to Mordor, and everything else. I loved it. And then, as I got
Mhm.
older, then I went to the adult books and whatnot. But I wouldn't have got there without reading the young stuff first. The science fiction,
Of
the
course.
adventuresome. And to me, it's like anytime you saw a young person between 13 and 19, and they got their face in a book, man, I
Mhm.
can't tell you how happy it makes me see that. I get so
Yeah.
jazzed when I see that. Some kid sitting there reading the book because it seems like it's a dying art. You know,
Yeah.
I know it seems to go in cycles like that, but sometimes you don't. To me, I think the more you read, the more you know. The more you know, the more you're able to think. It improves your critical thinking, improves
Absolutely.
and this is something that's sorely lacking in this country. Um, where did
Exactly.
you did you go to college to write? Did you take it? Did you or take classes of any sort when you wrote
Yeah.
workshops?
So I do have a degree. I started going to college for sociology because I was so interested in the way, you know, society works and the structures of society and everything. And I thought that that would really help my writing. And I thought it was fascinating, but I'm like, I'm never going to do anything with this. So then I got a degree in travel and tourism.
Okay. All
So
right.
that's what my degree is.
You know what? It's fun. Yeah, I could. Yeah, you know what? It seems like a lot of people, a lot. Johnson says you got a degree in sexiness.
John Wood.
And we do have to
I love
acknowledge.
it.
We have to acknowledge one thing. We have to acknowledge the one person in our chat here and whatnot. The one guy I would sit there and say truly knows great writing would probably be Anthony, because every time he does
Yeah,
the Twilight Zone, he's you know he knows what great writing is. Um, I
absolutely.
mean, God. Um, so, what were some of your favorite books growing up? I mean, what were some of the books that, you know, if I would have been walking there and I saw you in a park with your family and your nose was in the book, what would you have been reading?
Um, Definitely Harry Potter I love, but I kind of got on that bandwagon a lot later. I was totally into fantasy. So 100% I read all of the Redwall books. I don't know if you've heard of Redwall at all. It's like high fantasy, but with mice and rats.
Oh, how
Um,
cute!
but I
I've
mean,
read,
the books are amazing.
I've read Tad Williams. Have you read
I
any
have.
of he writes about
Mm.
cats. All the creatures and all the characters in this books are all cats.
I feel like I would know. What is one of the names of the book of his books?
Let's see. Let me see. Tad Williams. As far as I
I
know, I
think I
think.
know exactly who you're talking about. I can
Let's
like
see.
see the cover in my head. It's like a black cat.
Yeah, they have various writers, various characters. Some of the names, the narrow dark unabridged. Let's see. He is. Let me see if I can get his bibliography up here. His wife actually writes in with him too. Tail
Mm.
Chaser Song. That's what Tail Chaser Song. Um, it's the cat books are Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. The Shadow March series, as well as
That
let's see. Yeah, he wrote he's written a ton of
yeah.
characters with cats, which is interesting. You know, it's like you know, and when it's done right, you know, because a lot of people say, you know, that like he tells an adult, like you know, you see, like if I'm reading Tad Williams and some adult walks up to me and says, "What the hell are you reading?" But you know what, a young adult book, or even books with animals with it, because quite honestly, what's the best book featuring just an all animal cast? You should know this easy.
Wait,
What's the
say that
one
again.
book? What's the one book that featured an all animal cast? That's just the best book about about the type.
I don't know. Is this a trick question?
No. Have you ever read Watership Down?
Oh yes, absolutely.
I mean, that's just my
It's a
opinion,
classic.
of course. But that's the best book I've ever written. I've ever read that featured an all animal cast. That book had me in
Okay.
tears at the end. Yeah, this book had me in tears at the end.
It's a great book.
Um, who mentioned Animal Farm? Wow, brilliant. Yes, Animal Farm too.
Mhm.
Animal Farm is that now that's the first book that ever made me angry.
Yeah, you can say
Wow,
that.
yeah, that Animal Farm is a mind screw. You know, and here
Yeah.
we are in high school being told to read it. At the end of it, you know, you got those stoners that are like, huh? Then you got the jocks going like, there's no football players in here. Then you had the rest of us going like, this is so fucked up.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, this is such a wrong ending. This is like, oh, um, so what are some of your writers? I mean, so J.K. Rowling and who else do you like to read? I mean, when you read, and who do you like
Um,
today? Who are some of your authors you like today?
um, as sad as this is, I don't read as much as I would like to, just because my concentration is so on film. The last book, and I read this about like 7 months ago, and it's about film, of course, but it's called Night Film by Marisha Pessel. And that book just blew me away. It's like about film noir and whatnot. So, but yeah, definitely more my concentration has been, unfortunately, it has been film as of late. But
Sure.
definitely when I was growing up, you know, it was like I loved these weird, obscure like books by like Tove Jansson or Tove Jansson, if that's how you pronounce her name, the Moomin Trolls. And I loved all of these weird books that everyone would always be like, Shawn, what are you reading? You know?
Yeah. I was like that when I grew up. Now I could probably be considered a mainstreamer. I read Preston and Child, but that's the closest thing we got to. That's the closest thing we have to Sherlock Holmes going. So I enjoy reading their books.
Yeah.
See, Jonathan's saying I can't even remember the last time I read a book. Well, don't worry. When your daughter gets a little older, you'll be reading that book.
Exactly.
Anthony Smithing had to read Mice and Men in high school. Loved it. Yeah, that's a great book. Yep, we had to read that one too. Hi, Anthony Chabot, right there. How I'm doing? Good. Glad you're here. Yeah, man, here we are talking about books, but let's get, you know what? Let's not do all the cinema squads here. Let's turn the page and get into some serious meat here. Okay, so I'm gonna throw this out here for, you know, right off the bat. So why A24?
Why A24?
Yeah, I feel like I'm eating a lemon head when I ask you that question.
um, you know, with A24, I love the studio because they are making movies that were not mainstream before. Like people would not be interested in these types of films or talking about these types of movies if A24 wasn't around right now. And somehow they've, you know, broken into the mainstream. And whether their movies are good or not, A24 is at least trying something new. And if you look at everything else that's coming into theaters, at least nowadays, you're seeing the same old crap. And there's a couple of gems hidden in there. But there's no movies that are trying anything new. And that's what A24 is here to do. Whether that be good or bad, they're at least doing something different.
Okay, now you know I'm going to take really great offense to that because it's like they're trying something new. They're trying, IFC Films is doing it for 1,000 films now. They have picked up and put out over 1,000 films, and
Yes.
I think that they were doing it right from the beginning. I think A24 comes out, and I mean I think they do a lot of the same type of things. Though there is a method to IFC madness that I spotted. I mean, I know what IFC, some of the criteria they use when they go to either acquire a film or to produce a film, and they do produce once in a while. They do put their money behind it once in a while. Probably not as much as A24 does, but they still do it. One thing I will have to give I'll tip my hat to A24 is they have managed to put their movies on the big screen.
That's what I'm
most
talking
of the movies. Yeah.
IFC Midnight. I love IFC Midnight, Patrick. I am a huge supporter and I champion all of the small independent studios. And that's what I try to do on my channel all the time. Is champion those films rather than concentrating solely on the big movies. But what I'm excited about by A24 is that they have been able to get their films onto the big screen. So there is something else for mainstream audiences to go see that's not Jurassic World Dominion or the Minions movie, or you know what I mean? So they're putting, I think it's just the fact that their films are being seen by the masses, and that's why I'm excited about them.
I'm watching the Cinema Squad taking over the chat here. They're taking over. they're talking about
right.
Dude Bro learns to read. Yeah.
You do have the tagline, the Cinema Squad is taking over at the bottom.
Yeah, see? The Cinema Squad is taking over. Yeah, I actually heard that, I'm not a Tarantino fan, but he did say something that was pretty relevant. He says, he was trying to get one of his movies. I want to say it was The Hateful Eight. He was trying to get The Hateful Eight on a big screen, and he was just trying to get it on there, and because there was like an unspoken deal that he was trying to get it on there, and he had a deal with Disney, and yet at the same time he couldn't get it on. He couldn't get his movie on because they went to I guess it was like New York City, and there was like 70 screens at this one theater in Times Square. All of them were all Doctor Strange.
Yep.
Do you think? Exactly. Let me ask you this: is Disney a monopoly, and should it be taken apart? Antitrust law?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I do too.
100%. They have way too much power, and I do not like the fact that they have so much control on the entertainment industry. Yeah, they need to be taken apart.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. I don't. Hopefully, no one from Disney is listening right now, and they stop sending me screeners. But I will say that.
No, but you're being honest. It's not healthy. It's not healthy for film. Yeah. It's not healthy at all. No. It's like you're squashing film by being so big. You're not going to give anybody any chance at all. There's no. Where are you going to find the next Michael Bay, or where are you going to find the next Bruckheimer, or where are you going to find the next Scott Brothers or what have you? It's very hard to find find the new talent, the talent, up and comers, when everything you're putting out is a straight vanilla, and you got all the main faces. I equate it to like Britain and Australia. I always talk to the actors or the directors, and I always comment like, isn't it frustrating that you can't seem to break through? It's like everything is bottleneck at the top. So every time there's a prestigious film comes in, it's the same people over and over and over. I watched this movie called Lavender, and it was based off a book. It was based off a book, a very popular book, and it was based off a book about these two spinster sisters during World War II, and they find this young man, and his boat got sank out in the ocean. He floated to the shore, and how they take care of him, and one of the sisters falls in love with them. Now in the book, it's supposed to be like in their late 30s, early 40s. The young man's like 21 or 22. Okay. Well, they made this movie, and the two leading actresses for the sisters were Maggie Smith and Judi Dench.
Wait, what? A little bit of an age difference there.
Yeah, they're supposed to be in their late 30s, early 40s, and both women are in their damn near 80s. And being Judi Dench is trying to, she's looking at this guy who's like 20, like 23, 24, and she's looking at him like a girlfriend. And it's just like, it's all wrong. It's just, but it's like, well, why don't you cast some other young actresses in those roles? Get some fresh blood in here. And every single time, it's like that in Australia too. Every time there's a huge project comes out, we're gonna get to see Nicole Kidman. And it's like, okay, but she's had her time. I'm not really excited about Disney either. It seems like too much control, especially at the theaters. Like they come in there and they dictate theaters. Like if A24, believe me, if Disney flexed their muscles strong enough, we wouldn't see any A24 film in there either.
Exactly, and that's why Disney something needs to happen, because they have too much power, and and everything, like you said, vanilla, like everything is the same. And I don't want to, I know there's people in the chat, including my Cinema Squad brothers, who, love Marvel and love Star Wars. And there is a place for all of that content, but I feel like it's just being shoved down our throats constantly. And I want to see other things up on the big screen than that.
Yeah. I mean, all the art house theaters, they're slowly going away. I mean, they're slowly going away. They're fading away. I mean, like, I'm going to go see an art house movie. I'm going to go see a small little movie, a Robert Altman movie. Could you imagine trying to see Robert Altman try to put a movie out these days? It would be impossible. It would be impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, all these, Paul Schrader trying to have him put out a movie on a big screen. It's, these are brilliant directors, and they can't get it.
Nope.
Michael Cassie, Matt Eskandari. I mean, they make great action films, but can we ever get them on the big screen so they can get noticed and people can watch them? No. And then they get tagged with that direct-to-video stigma, and then there you go. They can't break out of that. They can't expand, and they can't become well known. What would you do if you what would you recommend? I mean, as far as how hard is it for you to write as a critic? How hard is it for you to keep that out of your reviews? I mean, if you sit down and watch a Disney film, is it hard for you to keep that out? I mean, especially if it's a vanilla movie, is it hard for you to keep that out? To maintain your neutrality?
Yes, it is definitely. So it is really difficult because it's a fine line when you are asking the studios for the screeners for their film. They will stop giving you screeners if they don't like what you're saying in your reviews. So once again, they have a type of control over you. And so you do have to be careful. But one thing I said when I got into this is I'm not going to be that person if they send me, swag or like merchandise from their movie. I'm not going to then go and like write a glowing review if your movie sucks. Like, I'm not going to sell out. And I think that's one thing I've done, and I continue to do is, be honest as I can be. And if you'll see in my reviews, if you kind of read between the lines, you'll see me throwing a little bit of shade for some Disney properties, but it does make it difficult. And having an editor too, who is like, Shawn, you have to take that out because they're not going to like that. And then me fighting back and forth with him being like, no, that needs to be in there because it's important to what I'm trying to convey to everyone that's reading. So it's an interesting struggle.
Yeah, I mean, not it's not a big thing, but I mean, that's what happened with me. I was writing reviews for Wild Eye, and I told the guy who runs Wild Eye, I said, and I say this to anybody, I tell this to anybody. I sit there and say, I'm not going to promise you a bad review. I'm not going to promise you a good review, but I will promise you an honest review. And it's like, he sent me movies, and I didn't write. I only did reviews for me like 40% of what I got. Like 40%, I looked at the movie and go like, there's no point in writing anything about it because this movie's really bad. So I just put it away. 40% of the movies I did write, I liked. The ones I did like, I wrote. I wrote about. I praised some I didn't. Some I, for the most part, most of the Wild Eye reviews that I did review were positive. I just felt like it was shooting fish in a barrel. When you're writing about movies with them, so I just didn't even bother. This is what's the point?
Yeah,
it's So and it doesn't do anybody any good for me to write down like, yeah, this director is, he couldn't find a good movie with this, with both hands on his ass. No one's gonna benefit. No one's gonna benefit from that. So I don't, but he saw one review that he didn't like, and that was it. It's like, okay, that I have no problem with that. I didn't sit there and say, hey, but I said I just wrote what I saw. I mean, what do you want me to do? I mean, do you want me to lie to you about it? I mean, I'm not going
Right.
to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that for anybody. I mean, I got other, so I agree. I respect that.
Yeah.
I like superhero movies too, but man, oh man,
Yeah.
there's some movies that I just couldn't. As much as I like superhero movies, I just can't cow down and like everything. There's some movies that just
Yeah.
aren't that good. I'm going to say it. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay not to like everything.
Exactly. That is the one thing that drives me nuts is it's like, it's okay if you like something and I don't, like, or vice versa. Like with Hereditary, I know you hate it, I love it, and that's okay. And we can have conversations about it and healthy conversations. And that's what I feel like it's so lacking nowadays. The idea that we can, have differing opinions but still come together and have a positive conversation out of it.
I know you probably haven't seen it, but if you get a chance, you could watch the Midnight Society. We went into into X. We took a deep dive into X. I think honestly, I think you'd be surprised. I mean, it was very even-handed. It wasn't like I wasn't crushing it. I knew going in I wasn't gonna crush it because I like Ty West, so I knew there was that.
Yeah.
But I mean, based I kept my expectations, everybody's like, oh my God, it's like, it's better than sex. It's a movie. It's a horror movie. Let's just take a look at it. It's not even a slasher movie. It's not even a slasher movie.
Yeah,
There's
that's
just
true.
like, it's one. There's one kill that way. The rest of it is, it's not, it's like, okay, spoiler alert. It's not even that, and it's like, okay, I watched it and there's a lot of things I liked about it. There's a lot of things I didn't, there's a few things I didn't like, a few. But overall, would I say it was a good movie? Yeah, I liked it. I liked The Witch. I mean, there's, let me just show you something. Just get this out of the way because I was going to do this yesterday, but I didn't. But I'll do it today, so you guys can all get a good look at this. So for the guy who comments about how much he doesn't, you know so that's a pretty good healthy stack so far.
What is it? What are the movies?
These are all my A24 films.
Yes.
I got these. Now here's the thing about this. You're gonna like this, Sean. I got these movies for the most part. I got these movies at Family Video. This is before I got into to the studio game. I just got them because they were cheap, because they're like, there's like I think the first A24 film, yeah, Hobbs just says they're all Hallmark films. They might as well be. They might as well be, Hobbs. So I went and I went and got. It's funny because I mentioned this yesterday, but I'll tell you this too because I don't think you'd know this. But when I started writing my reviews, I didn't know I didn't know anything about anything. I was just getting movies just to watch. So the very first IFC movie I ever watched, Midnight movie, I watched a movie called The Abandoned, and it was good. It was good. It was a solid movie. And then I watched one called the Dead Room. It's a movie from New Zealand. That was the first IFC Midnight movie that I reviewed. That was the very first one I reviewed. The next movie I reviewed was a movie called Remember with Christopher Plummer. Have you seen that one yet?
No.
You gotta dig that up. You have to dig it. It's A24. It was my review after The Dead Room. It was my first A24 film, and I didn't know anything about A24. And I look at it side by side. I like both movies. If I had to choose one, I would choose Remember. Remember is an amazing movie.
Oh, Adam McGoyan.
It's a fantastic movie. It's the first A24 film I ever bought.
Interesting. Okay.
So And then as I got into it, especially once I joined the tube and I became more and more aware of it. I think the first time I ever heard the A24 hype train coming through, I know exactly what movie it was. It was A Ghost Story.
Oh, which one?
A Ghost Story.
Oh, Casey Affleck.
Yes. I can't tell you how much I hated that movie.
I hate that movie too.
I hate that movie so much.
Yeah.
I actually did something I never did. I took it back. I couldn't. I thought this is just. I took it back. I said, "Yeah, it's not for me." I
Oh,
hated that
wow.
movie. It was the first time I saw all the hype and everything. Had the certified fresh on there and everything else. I'm going like, okay, let's go see. And then after that, that poisoned the water for me.
That makes sense.
'Cause after that, I'm going like, okay. Every time they talk about an A24 film, they're talking about it's the next thing next to God. And so
Yeah.
I watched a couple of their movies. Like I watched Cut Bank, which I absolutely loved. But then then I would see other movies and they're okay, but they're not anything. You know, um, I sometimes the hype train really hurts a film, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It
Um,
definitely does. And I think with the case of A24, I think it's done that a lot. And um, yeah, I was worried that Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't know your thoughts on that movie,
I
but
I really want to see that.
it's my favorite film of the year so far.
Yeah, I
So I
really
was
want to see
worried that the hype train was going to ruin that one too, but it did not, luckily for me. But it's
that.
interesting if you look at my list of movies that are ranked this year. There's a couple of A24 right at the top and a couple of A24 right at the very bottom. So it's interesting. I mean, I don't love all of their movies at all. I think they're
No,
there's some that are great, there's some that are bad, there's some in the middle, but at least they're worth talking about.
the worst film I ever reviewed, over 500 reviews. The very one that I reviewed the worst, I hated the most,
Hmm.
was the IFC Midnight film called
Which one?
hashtag horror.
Oh,
Oh God. Oh, just
also, did you see Neil Blomkamp's Demonic?
no. How was that?
Horrid, absolutely horrid. Um,
Wow.
but then I have an IFC Midnight movie in my top 10 of the year, Watcher, which I think is incredible.
Yeah, that looks excellent.
Yeah,
That
Watcher
looks
is
excellent.
amazing.
Yeah, I really want to see that too. I want to see. I'm very hyped on Vespers. Vespers looks
Oh,
absolutely insane.
Vesper looks really good. I'm super
Real
curious
good.
about that one.
Um, and like I said, I'm also very curious to see about Pearl too. I very much like to see Pearl.
Mhm.
I'm excited about that. But the rest of the movies that are coming out is just like they're okay. They're solid. But I remember one movie that you guys were. I was in. Yes, Hobbs. We got to mention that. So
What's
yeah,
Pie
Pie Wacket. Oh, okay. Pie Wacket is like making a Godzilla movie
Okay.
without showing Godzilla at all. You
What's
talk
the
about
point?
Godzilla, you hear about Godzilla, you see it on the news, but you never see Godzilla. But it's a Godzilla movie. That's Pie Wacket.
It sounds
It,
terrible.
yeah, it's like they're supposed to be a creature, and you never see the creature. You see the creature for like 5 seconds in a far shot. It's a far away shot. That's all you see it. I mean, and it was just like so frustrating because the acting was top notch,
Hmm.
really good acting, real good acting, interesting story. Did not put the creature in the movie.
I
It's
mean,
just
I'm
like,
I'm always a fan of, making like your mind is more like it makes something scary that you haven't seen yet. And I've seen a lot of movies where all of a sudden you see the creature and it doesn't live up to what you came up with in your mind. So it kind of ruins it. So I'm all about like keeping the creature secret and whatnot, but to not have it in your movie at all,
you
except
know,
for 5 seconds in a long
uh,
shot far
uh,
away,
yeah,
not enough.
yeah. It's just absolutely. It was frustrating because it was such a well acted film too. If it was just a bad movie, if it was like Tony Collette bad. I mean, you know, I can understand that, you know, but like watching Gabriel. I think I got him. I think we knocked him out.
Oh,
Oh my God, I can't stop. I'm sorry, I just can't get over that. Everybody was so like, oh my God. It was just like, yeah, oh my God, all for the wrong reasons.
it's
Uh, but I kept it. I kept my copy of Hereditary. I didn't get rid of it. I still got it. So, you know, I got it. It's safe. No, it's you know,
that is like a dagger to the heart, Patrick.
I'm
A dagger
sorry.
to the heart. It's one of
I
my favorite performances of all time. Toni Collette in Hereditary is insane what she does in that movie. It's so good.
It's so Al Pacino.
I disagree.
The only thing missing, but the only thing I maybe could have done to improve Toni Collette's performance in there is put a feed bag over her neck with some grass on it, because she needed more grass to chew, because she was chewing hard that movie. Holy crow, she was like, you know, IFC put out that one movie called Cal.
Yes.
I didn't know if that was a documentary or if that was behind the scenes of Hereditary, because I'm
Patrick, you're too bad.
I mean, yeah, you know, Al Pacino got that reputation there for a few years when he was just, you know, he was mistaking yelling for acting. You know, it's like so they're sitting there going, Al Pacinoing. But yeah, that's my stack there, and I you know, it's like, but the movie I was going to mention was actually inside in one of the Cinema Squad streams. You guys were all talking about it. You guys were all hyped up for it, and that was actually the Green Knight. I remember Jonathan being particularly really excited to see it. So I remember that. Huh?
Yeah, it was my most anticipated movie of last year, and I did not like it at all.
Yeah. I remember watching, because I saw you guys were talking about it. You're all hyping it. I'm sitting in there watching it, and then when it came out, I didn't hear anything from anybody, any of you guys. It was just like, well, didn't they like it? What happened to the hype? They were all so excited for it. Where's the reviews at? And then I didn't hear anything.
It's the same director as from Ghost Story, David Lowery, and that movie, The Green Knight. It was beautiful to look at, but it just was boring as sin. And I didn't like it. I was so disappointed. I remember I went to go see it with my sister, and I just kind of like halfway through the movie, I was just like done. Like, I'm so disappointed in this. So that's why we didn't talk about it, because I was not happy.
You know, and it really sucks too, because I love Dev Patel as an actor.
He's incredible.
I'll watch him in anything.
Agreed.
He's actually made quite a few IFC movies. Thank God, because you know, then you can recover from the Green Knight by watching some good movies. But yeah, I was really disappointed for him too. I was like, wow, I feel bad for him, because you know, he got caught in that circle. He got caught in the hype machine. Now, I think if the movie would have just came out with just like, you know, lowered expectations, I think it would have found its audience.
I think so too.
I think it would have found its audience, and it would have did fine. It just would have been fine. It would have, you know, I think it hurts. I think it hurts when there's so much fans beating up on the, you know, like, oh my God, this is going to be the next big thing since sliced bread. No, let it breathe. Let it come to you. Let it come to you. Award season. What are some of the movies that and this is another thing about award season too. You know, we're talking about Disney and monopolizing. Yeah, during the pandemic, I was floored. I really did think, you know, you've heard me say this before, but I really thought Haley Bennett deserved an Oscar for at least a nomination. At the least a nomination. I thought she deserved that for Swallow.
Yeah, that movie's so good, and she is freaking fantastic in that movie.
I love Haley Bennett.
Yeah, she's so good.
She's so good.
Before we get into this, I have to pee really quickly. I will be right back.
Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. Thank you guys all for coming out. let's see. That's how he felt when Dan said he didn't like Famke and Goldeneye. Oh, Famke Janssen was amazing in that. She was Al Pacino in it too. But you know what? But you know what? That's what happens with James Bond. All the evil Bond girls, they're supposed to be like that. They're supposed to be slightly over the top, or in her case, on a top. But that's what they're supposed to do. See, Eric says he liked The Green Knight more than a lot of A24 films, but still didn't love it. I know going in I'm going to like The Green Knight because I just like Dev Patel. I'm going to say that because I do love him. I do like Dev Patel a lot. Let's put it this way: he almost saved single-handedly. He almost saved The Last Airbender. That's skill. That's talent to me. When they actually come in there and save a movie like The Last Airbender, he almost saved it from itself. I was really impressed with him in that movie. Jonathan saying Toni Collette should have won the Oscar. Oscar for what? For Hereditary? Oh Lord, I know you're joking with me about that. No. Oh my God, no. I would have voted for no. Haley Bennett deserved the Oscar for Swallow. I think both those movies came out the same year.
Toni Collette for the Oscar. Yes, John.
I think Jonathan hanging around dirty diapers too long. I think the fumes got into his head.
He's been picking up those fumes.
Yeah, quit sniffing the diaper. Yeah, it just frustrates me that during the pandemic when small companies like IFC Midnight were keeping the theaters alive with movies like Relic and The Wretched and Swallow. And then as soon as we get back to normal, all of a sudden it's like they're all forgotten. And next thing you know, we're getting Frances McDormand again.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just so utterly disappointing that Frances McDormand win. And I love Frances McDormand. Don't get me wrong. John's going to kill me in the chat because John's obsessed with Frances. But I just think Nomadland was another case of being so overhyped. I think it was a fine film. It was kind of tedious to watch. But for it to just go, and sweep with McDormand and Best Picture, it was just kind of sad.
Yeah, it's almost just like, and it's just like, wow, nobody else, nobody from any other movies that carried your summer, saved your summer. Nothing.
Well, and even with films like The Father and Promising Young Woman being also, up for Best Picture, those movies, at least, I think both of those films are fantastic. So then to put Nomadland next to it and then have Nomadland win, it was a shame.
Yeah, I was disappointed to see. It was just like, oh well, we gave it to her since we gave it to her last year, or it's almost like she's our generation's Meryl Streep, or your generation's Meryl Streep. I mean, back in the day, Meryl Streep showed up for everything. As soon as she put a movie out, she was going to be nominated for an Oscar. And it was just like, not everything she did deserved it. It's just so easy. It was easy to do. We'll just go ahead and do that. And it's just like, wow, do you guys not watch any other movies? That's it. That's all. And you could tell that a lot of people don't watch any of the screeners that come through their way. I mean, because they just rubber stamp it. We're just gonna go ahead and put
that pisses me off to no end when I'm hearing about these people who are voting who are not watching everything. It's like there are actually people out there like myself and even you, and there's so many people who are watching all of the movies. And then there's these people who are actually voting for the Oscars who don't even bother to watch the movies. How is that?
Yeah, their idea, it isn't. I mean, their idea of supporting the Oscars is snapping a picture of all the screeners they get and posting them on their Instagram. Look what I got, but I'm not. It's almost like show and tell collectors. The collectors that movie collectors, they'll get like 30 of the brand new movies in, and all these boutique labels and all that, and then you turn around and ask them, well, what did you watch? And they haven't, but they got the movie. Well, what's good if you got the movies, you're not watching it?
Yeah, it's like it's all for the clout, and it's not about what you're actually doing and what you. That pisses me off to no end. And I think that's really what's wrong with the industry right now, really.
Are you real quick? Are you a physical media collector or digital or?
This question guts me. I was a physical media collector. I had thousands and thousands of movies, and when I was leaving San Francisco, I kind of made the decision I was going to purge everything and kind of like start anew. And I got rid of every single one of my movies. So that gutted me.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about it, though, honestly, I mean, this may sound, I'm not trying to be funny or witty, but the thing is, though, if you can remember a lot of the movies you gave away or whatnot, you'll be able to get them again a lot cheaper now.
Oh yeah, absolutely, that's for sure.
What's your feeling on streamers? I mean, is streaming, are you a fan of streaming, or are you, do you think it's a positive thing, or?
I love this question, and I think there's a lot of good when it comes to streaming, and I think there's a lot of bad. The good, I feel like Netflix started out in such a great way, and they were like, you know what, here's these exciting creators, we like your idea, we want to give you creative freedom. And then they just, they kind of went ham and gave, all of these creators these budgets and, to see their vision come to life. And that was such an exciting thing to see. And then we've now seen the algorithm take over, and we see, crap being made and all of these vanilla movies, and, giving people like Adam Sandler and Kevin Hart all of these deals to make these terrible movies. And I like both of them, don't get me wrong, but we're kind of seeing the downward slope of streaming now and how bad it can be. And the fact that they're just throwing money at anything, if it has any kind of name to it, which, yeah, it's not in the greatest of places right now, I would say.
It does seem, especially now we see that, Netflix is losing, they've lost, what, 10 million people. I know they got 200 subs, 210 subscribers, but they've lost like 10 to 12, and they're steadily shedding. They're not gaining, they're losing every quarter. And I know that Peacock is, or I think it was Peacock's having a hard time getting anybody in on any level. Disney is, Disney is now, I think Disney's making, you could tell some of the streamers that are misfiring is that now they're being forced to do tiers, and then on the bottom tier they're doing commercials. And I think a lot of people are going to sit there and say, once they see that, I think they're going to bail. They're going to sit there and say, why am I paying you $10 or $12, $15 for a tier with commercials? That's the reason I joined you in the first place. Well, I wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think what they're doing in return to that is they're taking a lot of their best TV shows. I think this is something we'll see in the future. I think we'll see a lot of the better TV shows that maybe are hits on network. I think they'll turn around and take them streaming. If you want to follow
with Manifest is a really good example. Is it was canceled on the network, and then Netflix picked it up, and people started watching it, and they're like, let's save it and give it its proper ending. So that's a really good thing about these streamers, is that's a possibility now where before that might have not been a possibility.
So let's go back to award season real quick. I won't keep you too much longer. So let's go back and tell us a little bit of some of the movies that you think that we should keep an eye on come Oscar time.
So I don't know. Did you get to watch our Off to the Races at all, Patrick, last year?
I do believe I saw that. I do believe I saw that when you did that. Yeah, you did a big live stream for that.
Yeah, so me, Dan, and John, and we're going to be doing it again this year, starting up very soon. But we have a whole award season show called Off to the Races, where we're kind of going to be diving deep into all of the award season and the movies coming out and whatnot. So I'm really excited to get to start that soon. So have a little preview here, I guess. But yeah, there's
why
some
not? Why not? It's your show tonight. You taking over.
That's very true. But yeah, there's a lot of really exciting movies. I feel like this is the first year since the pandemic that we're actually getting movies from these beloved directors again. I feel like we kind of had a little bit of a dry spell, and now a lot of of these directors are coming back. Unfortunately, we lost Martin Scorsese's movie that's now been moved to next year. But we have, Sam Mendes with Empire of Light, and we have Damien Chazelle with Babylon, and Steven Spielberg with The Fabelmans, Sarah Polley with Women Talking, Darren Aronofsky with The Whale, which is getting a lot of really great buzz.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really movies that I am just so excited to see.
I was glad to see Brendan Fraser. I mean, it's funny people are talking about Brendan Fraser coming back. Brendan Fraser, but he's actually been here for like the last 3 or 4 years.
Yes,
he was doing the Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like
not many people are watching, I guess, because they had no idea that he was back.
Yeah, I was like, people were saying, "Well, he's back." And I'm like, he's been back. He's been doing the Doom Patrol. Where have you guys been? It's a great show. It's a great show too, by the way.
Yeah,
he's very good.
Really good about it. But yeah, I'm really excited to see Brendan Fraser take on a role like this, where it's really just centered around him. It's a chamber piece. It's a character study. So it's just, I don't know. It's interesting because at my work, everyone's talking about it. And these people who aren't into movies as much. So it's interesting that it seems like The Whale is kind of hitting the zeitgeist and people are talking about Brendan Fraser's comeback.
Yeah. And it's sort of shocking in this world of social media that still happens. Like, he's coming back. But he's been here. You just haven't seen him. And part of that is, why haven't you seen it? Like The Whale. You think The Whale's going to get a theatrical release, a wide release, or you think it's going to get limited and the rest of it's going to go to streaming?
I feel like if they do a Brendan Fraser, and I think that they will, like a whole campaign to get him into the best actor slot, I think that they might do a above limited rollout, but definitely not a wide rollout. So right in the middle.
I just think it's good that we get a movie like that, they get a chance to get in there for Best Picture. I really, it's how it used to be. It used to be a lot of these smaller movies, smaller art house movies used to get out there and be seen in award season. But now the big studios buy all these slots, and you can see it. You can see the money talks. It really does. Last year I was really high on Cyrano. I really thought that Cyrano deserved a lot more than what it got, and it didn't get anything. It got one nomination for costumes, and it's like, that's it. That's all it got. This is a beautiful movie. It's a tremendously good movie, but MGM had no money to throw behind it, and I think they threw most of their money behind the James Bond movie, and so it just got left high and dry. There's nobody there to champion it, and that really what it is.
About Mass last year. Did you ever see Mass?
No, I didn't see Mass.
It was another chamber piece. It was 4 actors, and it was one family. Their son was a school shooter, and the other family, their son was murdered by the other couple's son, and they are in a room together, kind of talking out everything that happened and coming to terms with it. It is one of the finest examples of just like the 4 actors at the top of their game. It's just an incredible movie. But Bleecker Street didn't have any money to campaign it, so we didn't hear about it during Oscar season, even though people were still like trying to champion the film, but there's not enough money to campaign it, so it doesn't get any slots.
Wasn't Jason Isaacs in that?
Jason Isaacs is in it. Margot Martindale, Jason Isaacs, Martha Plimpton, and Reed Birney.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that now. I remember the movie.
Incredible.
I remember Tour de Force.
Yes.
So last subject for you before I let you go is let's look at 2023. What do you see? What's out there that we should be excited about? What's exciting for you? I know you guys are on the Cinema Squad supposed to be meeting face to face. Are you going to be a part of that, right?
Yes. So we are in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today, actually. We are all meeting in Florida, and we are meeting for the first time in person. So hopefully there will be some videos out there of us, together doing videos. So really excited about that.
Taking over Florida.
Taking over Florida. Watch out, Florida.
Cinema Squad Takeover. Yeah. I'm so happy for you guys. When Dan mentioned that yesterday, I'm going, man, I just hope everybody's got those cameras rolling, because this is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
it's gonna be awesome.
We definitely plan on making some content while we're together. That's for sure.
Definitely. So 2023, anything that we should keep an eye on that you know about that we don't?
That is a really great question, Patrick. I mean, one thing just in general, like in a broad sense, I think I'm excited for 2023 because we're at least going to see more movies coming out in the theaters. And that's been one thing this year. It's been such a struggle. They had a couple of movies that they had lined up or already filmed pre-pandemic that they were able to release this year. But there's 50% less movies coming out in theaters than in 2019. So that's been kind of sad. I miss going to the movies every week and having a movie to look forward to. So that's one thing in 2023 that's going to change. Hopefully we'll be back to the amount of releases that were in theaters. But in 2023, honestly, the one thing that I am just beyond excited about seeing is Furiosa. That is that's the one movie that I'm just like, I cannot wait to see Anya Taylor-Joy take over this role. And that's like my number one most anticipated for next year.
Yeah, George Miller, it was funny when I heard that, because he's making that movie, and then he came in and then he made the 3,000-year-old wish.
3,000 years of longing. Yeah.
Yeah. That looks like a beautiful film.
I was so excited for it, and I love Tilda Swinton, love Idris Elba, and obviously George Miller. But I heard so many divisive things about it, and a lot of people said that the last quarter of it or so is just really disappointing. So I haven't seen it yet, but I obviously still will. But the feedback from it hasn't been great, which is a shame.
It's a shame because those are two excellent actors that I would love to. I would definitely love to see on the screen. Share the screen. I hopefully some of these movies they'll get home releases. It's funny because it's funny. I went to the library this week. I go to the library every week and I show off my what I get. And I went over there and they had a copy of The Witches. And then I was talking with Cal Daly, and he says, "I see you got a copy of the Witches." I said, "Yeah." I was a little surprised to see it out there because that movie came out a little while ago. I thought it would have been released sooner than that. Through the library. It's been out for a couple of years. He goes, "No, I don't think it's been out a couple of years at all." And I looked, and the movie came out in 2020. And they released it for home viewing in June 2022, and that's a studio release. And I'm going, what? because you know how that goes. It's a 45-day or 45-day window. You know,
Right.
maybe 60 for home release, but a year and a half. That was different.
Yeah,
That was different.
that's odd. I wonder why that was.
No, and only a DVD release, not even a Blu-ray. I was like, oh, that's really different.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. It's good. I want to thank the chat for coming out and supporting the Cinema Squad Takeover.
Thank you so much.
They'll be back tomorrow, taking it over one more time. And we'll be talking to Jace tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to that. And you know, I know that he's with me on the anti-hereditary tip. So you know, I'm sure we'll have, right, Jace. He's probably gone. Hold on here. The cheetah is bumping my foot, so I got to ask him what's going on.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Thanks for coming out and sharing your answers. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'll definitely want you to come back and talk again. I'm going to talk to you for like I know I can talk to you for hours on end.
Absolutely. This was awesome.
Go ahead and stay right where you're at. I'm going to go ahead and tell the chat thank you so much for hanging in here and enjoying the show. And your comments have been flying. You know, this is just awesome to see. Feel free to share out the stream after it's over with. You know, watch it and share it among your friends. Drop a comment if you would. Comments really do help the channel a lot. And tell your friends about us. And if you haven't subbed to me, consider subbing to the channel. I'm going to be putting all your social media contacts down below, Shawn, so people can find you and find the Cinema Squad. And I guess I'll probably be seeing you tomorrow night when Jace will be here.
Oh yeah.
And then on the last show of the week will be on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be talking to film director Kalinda Bongers, who directed a movie that I saw in art exploitation. Rest in peace. I guess Kino Lorber bought him out. I love that. That's a great label too. That was my second favorite label. She co-directed a movie called Molly that came out a few years ago. We'll be talking to her about that and about her career, and that'll be at 2 p.m. Eastern time. All right, that's it for me. Stay right where you're at, Shawn. Everybody else, thank you for coming out for your support. I appreciate you so much, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace. Thank you, Monkey. I see that. I'll see if I can do this without blowing up my phone.
Uh-oh.